What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the More Life podcast. I'm glad you're here. This week we have a very special guest, and it is Samantha Castro. Samantha is the creative director at Hello Sam Sam Design, and she's a designer from Toronto with a passion for makeup, food, design, travel. Very passionate about graphic design and very eager to embrace new opportunities. So she believes every project has a story, and she loves showcasing it through design. Sam, say hello to everyone, please. Super excited to have you here. We've been trying to work this out for some time now. And I was very persistent. I was just so impressed when I first found out about you through a mutual friend and who's actually on the season one of the podcast. And just seeing your personality come through on your feed. If you're not following Sam, you should do it right now. Pause the podcast and go check out Hello Sam Sam Designs on Instagram or on Pinterest, because I love your Pinterest feed as well. But in your own terms, what is it that you do? Or maybe even talk a little bit about your brand.
Yeah, so I specialize in branding design for small businesses who are mostly owned by female entrepreneurs or bloggers. I've had my business for 2 years now, but how I've been in the graphic design industry for 5 years now.
And where did it all start? I do a lot of research whenever someone comes on the show. I know you went to OCAD. I know you went to BCS. That's where my wife went to. That's where my mother-in-law taught.
No way!
Yeah. Brampton crew over here. Mrs. Dear Edwards taught grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 for 30 years at BCS when it first started. And my wife Bethany went to BCS as well, from kindergarten to grade, I don't know, 9 or 10, and then she went to another school to graduate. But yeah, we're very, very familiar with that place. So where did everything start? How did you get into graphic design? Was it something that you were artistic when you were really young?
Yes, I've always been super artistic. However, I never really knew that this was a job, really. I just knew that art was just for painting or drawing, and that was it. And I didn't discover graphic design until grade 12, really. And from there, I really just gave it a shot. And I had no knowledge of any Adobe softwares except for Photoshop. But I did all my portfolio designs on Photoshop. And I actually looked back on them. And I was like, what was I thinking?
Yeah, I love that. Whenever you see, I get made fun of by one of my program directors, because we're friends now. And he's like, I can't believe you submitted one of these projects, because it was very funny. When you look back, years later, it's what on earth was going through my mind at that time? That's so crazy. So you started graphic design very late in high school, and somehow you got into one of the leading art schools and design schools in the country.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
I created all my portfolio stuff on Photoshop, and I basically showcased my portfolio there, and I just made a whole bunch of different projects that I really wanted to create in the future. And I went to OCAD, and I went there for 4 years, and it was super crazy and amazing. But once I got there, I kind of just had an assumption that they would teach us the programs, but they don't. So once I got into second year, I had to get a tutor to teach me how to use Illustrator. And from there, everything was just self-taught.
Whoa! So I didn't go to a fancy school. I think I've shared this on the podcast before. I dropped out of a few design programs because they weren't teaching the skills I had. So I was almost the opposite of you, where I was always on the computer, like, Photoshop 2.5, Photoshop Elements 1.8. Like, those were huge for me, messing around with doing flyers for church, when this was like, not many people knew how to do that kind of stuff, way back in the day, in like 2001, 2002. And I ended up going to York U and dropping out after the first semester because it was too theoretical. And then I went to Seneca at York, and I dropped out of that after 1 year. And then finally I found my place at Humber because I'm like, I already kind of know how to use these tools. I just need a better way. Like, I need proficiency. That's all I really wanted. I'm like, if I know how to use these tools really well, I know that I can be an asset to any company and go in and work. I just need, give me some of the theory and the understanding of design. Give me the books. And that's how I found it. I went to Adobe's Center for whatever learning center, and the only one in all of Canada. Actually, there was two. There was one in Calgary, and there was one in Toronto in Humber at this one program. It was a certified learning center for Adobe. I'm like, that must be it, because I need to just learn the raw skills. And you had the opposite, where you were like, you learned late, and then you had to self-teach yourself because the program that you went to was more theoretical and more developing you as an artist itself, right? Is that correct? And then it's kind of like you do the other way around. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Actually, my number one school that I wanted to go to was York, but then I didn't get accepted. But I did get accepted to OCAD, so that's wild.
York doesn't know what they're missing out. And yeah, I don't want to bash anyone's school. I'm just saying York wasn't the place for me. And I think you turned out pretty good going to OCAD, because it kind of helped shape some of the I guess, the inner workings on how you wanted to build your own brand or company or your styling. How was your experience at OCAD? Tell us a little bit more about what is it like being in a program like that?
Yeah, so first and second year, they basically kind of teach you the overall basis of design. So we really learned about drawing, color theory, and just kind of the history of graphic design and whatnot. And then third and fourth year is when they start to introduce different kind of design, meaning the different types of industry that you could work in, and you could totally branch out and learn about branding design or packaging design and whatnot. And fourth year, which is a super scary year for every OCAD student, because that's when you do your independent study, which is called theory, but I believe they call it something else now. But you basically just have your own project, and you work on it for the whole year, and then after you kind of just display it to the whole school, really.
I think I went to one. A friend of mine was doing it, and I think is it a public thing? I think that's what I went to.
Yeah, it's called something OCAD. Oh gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking right now, but it's an exposition. I don't know why I'm just blanking about it, but yeah.
It's all good. One of the things I see, a lot of people, or a lot of programs don't necessarily always touch on when it comes to graphic design. A lot of places they focus on design for print, design for web, but design for packaging. You said that in your third year, you guys touched on packaging, and the reason why I think this is so relevant is how you transitioned a lot of your design and personality through your brand style into products. And again, if you have not seen Samantha's Instagram feed, you need to go check it out. When I first, I think, reached out to you, it was after I recorded our episode with Anne. And I don't think you had any products. That was a year ago.
No.
You have a lot of products. Like you got the washi tapes, you have the keychains, you have the stickers, you have the rings that just came out, you have like the phone holders. You have so much product, and I would love for you to maybe talk about like some of the things you learned in OCAD about like product design and package design. Because I think that's something that you do extremely well. And I'm very excited to even talk a little bit about the products themselves a little bit down the line.
So yeah, we did a lot of product design. I mean, we experimented a lot on like coffee cups and I don't know, like apparel design and whatnot. But I had hands-on experience with apparel design when I interned at a company called Pear Designs, and they specialize in baby clothing and accessories and whatnot. And that's where I really got like the hands-on experience about learning about pattern design and how to mock up a product for the people who would manufacture it and whatnot. And I really learned a lot from there. And I learned a lot more afterwards once I found another job at a print shop where I did a lot more like apparel designs again, and I did like a lot of basketball jerseys.
Really?
Yeah. They specialized in like a lot of printing design. So I did like a lot of sports jerseys and basketball jerseys and mugs and like you name it. I learned a lot from there. And I've always just dreamt about creating products like stickers and washi tape. And like from there, I just wanted to create more things that I actually like love using in my everyday life. So from there, I really just did a lot of research and tested out a lot of things.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. And thank you for teaching me what washi tapes are, because until I saw that on your page, I never even heard the term. I thought there was just like regular tape, electrical tape, and like duct tape. Maybe like, Scotch tape for packing gifts. I never even knew how people were being so creative with like using washi tapes to put up posters because they have a certain look and aesthetic to them, using them in journals and diaries. If you're a bullet journal person, if you're, a diary person, you can format your page using washi tape. And for those of you who don't know, because maybe you're just like me and you've never heard of it before, but apparently I'm just like an old person now and I have to have things explained to me a little bit. Let's talk about some of the products. Not like, like going one by one or anything. I'm just talking in the sense of how did you get like, so it's one thing to have an idea for a t-shirt or a sticker or, whatever else, like a phone holder. How do you supply the source materials, manufacturing, delivery, all these different things? Yeah, because for a lot of people, this is the real reason of the question, because this podcast is for creative entrepreneurs. For a lot of people, they see that as extremely complicated and maybe too far from where they might be able to reach. And they're like, well, I just do like, brands, like logos for, maybe it's for women exclusive or BIPOC women, or maybe I just do like branding stuff for t-shirts. But how do I actually go about and find somebody who will manufacture this and then build out a store? The world that we live in now, you kind of have to have a little bit of extra stuff. Otherwise, you're always going to be working your time for someone's money. And, there's only so many designs you can do. And then you always have to be chasing the next design if you want to have like consistent money coming in. But then if you have products or packages that are maybe digital or something that comes in all the time, you have to maybe like think a few steps ahead. Okay, maybe I need a Shopify website, or maybe I need to take photos of products and get stuff made. How did you first come, what was the first product you came with the idea of, and how did you launch it practically? Maybe this can help some people who are in the same route.
Yeah, so I originally started with stickers, and before I started creating the stickers, I originally just started posting my art online on Instagram, and like a lot of people loved it. So I thought, why not make it into something? And I knew that stickers were like a really big thing, and like I was still kind of like iffy if people would buy it, but like I just went with it, and I picked like some of my designs that I've already made, and just did a lot of research on what sticker company was like the best for the amount of print on demand that I could do. So I really wanted just to start small first before, printing.
So you did print on demand versus like having a whole inventory of like, maybe I have 100 stickers that I got printed and just have them.
Yes, I did print on demand first before I had inventory. And then from there, as my shop grew, I had inventory. I started to do inventory, and after I kind of got tired of stickers, I wanted to branch out to washi tape because I personally love washi tape, and I'm like a big stationery fan. So I wanted to somehow experiment with it. Washi tape, finding a washi tape supplier was like the hardest step for me after stickers, because with stickers, if you do the research, you have a lot of options, because you can find manufacturers here in Canada or the US. With washi tape, it's a lot harder to find a manufacturer because they don't really do washi tape here in North America, so I had to find somewhere overseas to get them printed. And sometimes the language barrier was hard, so it took like a lot of patience and redesigning until I, found what I wanted exactly. And yeah, from there, that was like a big step for me, or like a stepping stone. And then once I found my manufacturer, I really was able to branch out to the different things that I have now.
Yeah. So you kind of just kept like taking new challenges. Okay, we got the washi tape down. I'm happy with maybe having these options. Okay, now let's find something else. And it grows and it grows and it grows.
Yes.
To the point where I think the last thing I saw was rings. You have, Disney rings.
Yes.
And the shop now, for people that are maybe having some questions, Etsy or your own personal site or a Shopify or something like that, which route did you take in selecting a route to have a store on your website?
So before anything, I had my original website where I showcased my portfolio, and I just used that Squarespace as my shop. And as my shop grew, I recently got another website for my shop, and I still use Squarespace for that. So yeah.
The shop is a separate.
Sorry?
The shop is a separate domain for the store. I got it.
Yes, it's a separate domain now because my shop just grew a lot, and it was like overtaking my portfolio website.
Which makes sense. It makes sense to have, different types of like a domain or a subdomain for the different thing. That makes sense.
Yes. Originally, I was thinking of Etsy, but Personally, I just like having things aesthetically pleasing for my shop. So I really just wanted to pick a website where I could like customize everything. So yeah.
Yes, let's stick right there. Let's talk about aesthetically pleasing and specifically your aesthetic, your brand. As you can tell, I'm a big fan.
Thank you.
And I also very much realize right away, and I think anybody who sees your feed will realize it's an extension of you. So, how, yeah, I have so many questions. Like, where did you, I guess, start to develop this style that is very happy, is very fun, it's very pro Disney. I feel like you're like a Disney girl, and you really like that type of stuff, and it's very colorful, and you can't help but be happy when you see it. And when I saw, I think one of the first pictures of you on your feed, because most of it's like products or designs, I was like, oh, this makes perfect sense. This is somebody who I would imagine is really into this type of typography, these types of color combinations, and even the lettering and how you lay out a lot of the branding that you do. There is a definite style that's with that. Where did you start to develop the style? Was it kind of an evolution?
Yeah, it was kind of like an evolution. I would say probably like third year of university. That's when I started to really develop my style, and like a majority of my professors noticed it too. Like every time I submitted a project, they would be like, "Oh, this is definitely your style. This is so Samantha." And like every time they said that, I was kind of like, "Is it?" Just because like every project that I submitted, it always had to be super colorful and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I really I would say hone in my design was when I started my Instagram page, which is what it is now. I
Mm.
really just wanted to create designs that I wanted to create instead of like
Right.
using my creativity just for work projects, you know? Like I wanted to create things that I've always dreamt of, like saying, that I've always wanted to create, um, like illustrations or like Disney stuff
Yeah.
because like I don't really do that for like any of my jobs. So I really use my Instagram page as a platform where I could create the designs that I wanted to create.
That's awesome. I have a question. Like, you talk about Disney, you just mentioned it. Is there any problems using like Mickey or Minnie Mouse's likeness in your design to sell? Like you're making money off of it, right?
Yes. I haven't had any problems, but I don't know any of shops that have gotten in trouble. If anything, Disney would just kind of rip off the person who
Yeah, yeah.
took the who created the design or product and then resell it as their own.
Facts.
And it
And you're
like
not naming it Disney either, right? You're not
no,
saying, "Oh, check out my Disney, Minnie Mouse earrings or whatever like that," because I think
no.
that could be copyright. But it's just like their image, or you're drawing it yourself, and not like you're taking it from Google Images. I don't know what's going to Google
Yeah, of
Images.
course. I always draw everything like from scratch and make it my
Yes.
own. And
Yeah, it could be
I
like
always said
Happy
that like
Mouse.
sorry?
It could be like Happy Mouse, or
Yeah. I always have to find like a loophole of naming my products.
right. That makes sense. So what's been some of the challenges in the last like 2 years since you've really started this? Because I feel like you're kind of on a great trajectory right now where things are going really well. I see you launching new things. I see your following grow exponentially in the last year. So I'm like, so how is this? How has things been going? What are some of the challenges that you maybe have had to overcome throughout this process?
um I would say creative block is one of my biggest challenges.
Mm.
And it stresses me out that I'm stressed out about it. Like, I can go weeks having creative block and just like being super depressed about it. And then, like, one day something will hit me, and like, I just keep running with that idea until like the creative block hits me again. But I would
Hmm.
say that is like my biggest struggle because I'm such like a perfectionist that like I always have to have things on schedule and
Right.
whatnot. So yeah,
That's
that's the
hard.
biggest thing.
Yeah. No, I get that, especially when like people have an expectation now, right? Like you now have people who are like, "Oh, I can't wait to see what she does next," and you don't want to disappoint people. You don't want to disappoint yourself as well, right? Which you have
Definitely.
most people forget, who are not like designers or creative, no matter how hard anyone else is, we're harder on ourselves. On like how we want to be perceived, how our work is received publicly, which takes a big toll. And yeah, there's times where you gotta maybe take a break and kind of. My thing is go for a walk. Like, don't think about the work, and then somehow I will think of a creative way to finish the design or a creative way to solve the problem. But when you're like so in it all the time, every day, it's almost as if it's too close for you to read. It has to be a little bit further away for it to make sense. Um, Sam, how have you managed in the year of like COVID, and that's when your business kind of started? Um, so was that like a blessing in disguise where there was extra time, or was it like really hard to be at home? Or you like an outdoor person where you always wanted to be outside and you couldn't really be outside?
I would say that it was a blessing in disguise because that's when my business really took off. Um, in the beginning, I was really just looking for a new job, and before the like pandemic and quarantine, I was really just in the routine of getting interviews, and I did a whole bunch, and I was
Hmm.
like just tired of getting rejected. So that's when I started creating um, branding for like the small businesses because I just thought that why look for my dream job when I can just create it myself? So I really just pushed myself and created a whole bunch of like inspiration or like I call them passion projects where I would just create branding design that with fake businesses that I've always wanted
Hmm.
to work with. And from there, that's when people started to really notice my branding designs and wanted to work with me. And because I did that, I got noticed by Chorus Designs, where I now where I now freelance um, with them, and I create illustrations for their Instagram. So I've done design work for like
Nice.
Food Network, HGTV, the History Channel, and whatnot, which is
Yeah,
super
yeah.
exciting.
Chorus Media is huge in Canada. For those that don't know, there's lots of brands underneath that umbrella. So you're basically self-employed, right?
Yes,
Like you don't actually work for them. They're just another client of yours. You freelance for them. That's awesome. So
yes,
you did, in fact, do it your own way and make it in the industry the way that's most comfortable for you, so that you don't actually have to like be chasing. And in fact, people can actually chase you now, which feels
yes.
great.
That's exactly what's happening right now. And like every month, once I finish a project, I'm like, oh no, I don't have another project for the next few weeks or whatever. But then someone will come around at like the end, of, like the last minute, and be like, okay, I want to work with you. And like that's just how it's been ever since. And I'm like super thankful for it.
Wow. Okay. Before we go, I'd love for you to maybe talk a little bit about some advice for young upcoming designers and creative people, just because I know this is kind of the route more people are going to be taking. I say this all the time. When I was in school, they just drilled into you, go get a job at an agency, go get a job at a magazine, a design house, or a corporate job. That's the only way you're going to make money as a designer. And we now live in a world where so many people are just going to make their own way. There's going to be so many more small businesses, some creative, some not, which also means so many more designers, so many more web developers and illustrators and all that kind of stuff. What advice do you have for people who might be looking to make it on their own, in this kind of new world that we live in?
Once I graduated university, I knew that I wanted to work in an ad agency because I knew that's where the money was and that's the only way to really get a job. But it's so hard. I'm going to tell you now, it's so hard. But you kind of just have to keep pushing and really, really practice your design and create the design that you want to create and put it in your portfolio, because that's what people really want to see. Because if you don't have anything that you've always wanted to create in your portfolio, they're not going to see your potential. Because if you only show the actual work that you've done instead of the work that you've always wanted to create, that's not going to help. Because I found that when I really just showed the work that I did in work, they were kind of just kind of turned off, but also didn't know what my real potential was. So I would say really just create the work that you want to create.
That's super, I think, inspirational. The only thing I would add to that is if you only show work that you did for somebody else, then they can only see that other person's vision. But if you show your work, then they can see your vision, your personality. And I think that there's only one of you. Every person is very unique. So even if you think your idea is a little bit crazy or a little bit out there, you probably have an audience that you're not tapping into, that probably is exactly what they're looking for, but they would never get to see it if all you do is only work for other clients and you don't actually dream a little bit and go beyond yourself.
Yeah.
Sam, where can people find you? I'm so thankful that you were here today. If they want to get in touch with you or follow you on IG, let us know where that is.
So my Instagram is Hello Samsam Designs, and my Pinterest is Hello Samsam. And yeah, my portfolio website is hellosamsam.com, and my store website is Shop Hello Samsam.
Thanks so much for being here, Sam. This has been the More Life Podcast. We'll see you guys next time with a fresh new episode. Bye.